Hi everyone, welcome to Sacred Timings with Swati. I'm Swati Kameswar, and in this video, we're going to be talking about the big transit of July and August of the summer. That's Uranus conjunct North Node conjunct Mars in Taurus. So let's get down to it. And I just want to say that last week, let's before we move on, let's do a quick recap. And I just want to say that it has been, at least in my experience, has been a very activating July. It seems like time is really speeding up. So much is happening, and this will continue into August. And of special note was the recent full moon in Capricorn. The degree of the full moon was very close to the Saturn Pluto conjunction, which was a very rare transit that happened in early January of 2020. And this full moon was also conjunct Pluto. So there was this sense of completion, another layer of completion. Of course, there is no one transit that is significant, and there is no one event that we expect things to change suddenly, but it's happening consistently. But this full moon felt, for me at least, it felt for me personally a very strong point of completion, and I wonder if you felt it that way too. And I had intended to create this video a few days back, but I unexpectedly pulled my back, and so I had to slow down. This Uranus Taurus energy, uh, things happening out of the blue, having to slow down, take care of the body. So, just wanting to also point out that because this energy feels so sped up, we want to be very present with our mental, physical, emotional health, really simplify our life, because this activating energy is going to continue throughout the summer, at least till the end of August. So in this video, I wanted to specifically address the Uranus North Node Mars conjunction, which is happening on July 31st and August 1st. And I've got the chart over here. So you can see that it happens at 18 degrees, 41 minutes of Taurus, and Mars conjuncts them the next day on August 1st, depending on where you are. A couple of things to note about this, the other supporting planets that are supporting this transit. One is we have Mercury, opposite of Saturn. So Mercury in Leo, opposite of Saturn. We have this conjunction of Mars, North Node, and Uranus. It's sextile Venus. So it's kind of aiding, Venus is aiding, the energy of Venus is helping that transit. And we also have, there was one more thing I wanted to point out, which I'm not, oh yes, Jupiter. Jupiter is retrograde by that point, but Jupiter is very close to trining the Sun exactly. So that is again an amplification of the energy of Uranus meeting the North Node, meeting Mars. So all of these energies together, we are feeling it as an acceleration. We are feeling it as a speeding up of things, of an intensification. And surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, we have to be very, very conscious and slow down to experience the highest essence of it. So let's break this down into the different parts and see what is coming up with this transit that wants to be transformed and how you can utilize it in the best way. So, of course, we know that Uranus is about breaking patterns and it creates change. It is known as a change agent for a reason, because it breaks patterns. And to break patterns, it will do whatever it needs to for that to happen. So, the change can show up as chaos, not always. So, this is what I want to point out. And if you are familiar with my work, you know that I'm always inviting the highest essence of a transit. That means we want the change to happen, but we want it to happen with as much ease and grace, maybe surprising, delightful surprises, rather than chaotic, destructive change. So we want to be aware of the shadow, but we don't want to focus on it. So keep inviting the highest essence. This transit, Uranus particularly, to be very honest, being having a lot of Aquarius in my chart and having a natural Uranus Saturn square in my chart, um, I feel Uranus transits are absolutely beautiful in helping you to feel more freedom, give you a perspective change, and open up infinite possibilities. So that change in perspective can open you up to so many different things that you didn't, that you were not aware were possible for you. And in my own life, it has brought about delightful changes time and time again. So that's why I feel like focusing on being proactive about creating conscious change can allow us to really receive the best from this transit. Then the North Node is in Taurus, and the North Node depicts the direction that we are meant to be heading towards. So it's an area of spiritual growth. That means this transit can be really very, very positive to help us move towards the area, to provide us that jolt of freedom to move towards where we are meant to be heading towards. And then, of course, Mars is the represents the masculine part of the equation. You know, Venus is the feminine, Mars is the masculine. And of course, it's not always exactly clear cut that way, but really it's about the energy to take bold, heart aligned action. This so take a look at where 18 degrees 41 minutes of Taurus falls in your chart, and if you have anything going on, even in the opposite signs like Scorpio and the squares, Leo and Aquarius, this is a very personal transit for you. And personally, for me, I have my midheaven exactly at 18 something Scorpio. So my IC is at this particular transit falls almost exactly on my IC. And the focus for me in my own life has been very much about setting up the foundation for the future. Setting up, there's a lot of focus on home, on family. In fact, I'm going to be traveling again in August. I'm going back to India for a few weeks to meet my parents. It's been 5 years, and it just happens around this time. So there's a lot of focus for me personally on family, and I'm having to really slow down to let that integrate and um, let that show me the way ahead. So take this transit seriously and take a look at what it is activating in your chart, because there is this massive amount of energy that allows us to move towards a more aligned future. So, further breaking down this equation, let's talk about Taurus. And here is, a quick painting I had done using the symbol of Taurus. And for me, Taurus really signifies Gaia, and the highest essence of Taurus signifies the new realms of Gaia that are already here, you know, the higher ascended version of the earth, the 5D and beyond earth. So, to me, this transit shows us ways to create more stability and security in our life that comes from a place of inner self-worth and inner self-esteem, like a really strong self-worth and self-esteem. And our security comes from that rather than from anything external. And it is aiding us in building our new reality that is in alignment with 5D and beyond earth. So the new realms of Gaia are already here. People are already experiencing it. It really depends on what reality you are tuning into. So this transit gives us the opportunities to perceive those higher realities, to shift our focus. You know, that's what Uranus is about. It's about breaking patterns. It's about awakening us to something new and something more beyond what we have experienced so far. And that's exactly, you know, with respect to the earth, in the sign of Taurus, it's about the higher version of Gaia. And let's tune into that so that we can experience that more and more. So I wanted to kind of share with you also a couple of collages that I had done very recently. So these have been done in the last few months. This transit to me is about, it's like Aquarius meeting Taurus meeting Aries. So Aquarius is, of course, the Uranus archetype. Taurus and North Node is in Taurus. And Mars is very much resonant with the sign of Aries. So it's about these three energies meeting together. And I wanted to share with you these collages that really kind of depict to me what this energy means. And to just put it In very few words, it means new earth now. Now, new earth now is not a term that I've coined. It actually I heard it first from a beautiful, beautiful lady called Sandra Walter, and I'm going to be sharing a few resources from her later on in the video. But I heard her using this term, and it really stuck with me. And this is about tuning into that new earth and living that now and really experiencing that in this present moment rather than it being something in the future. So, this transit with Uranus, North Node, and Mars, and this combination of the highest essence of Aquarius, Taurus, and Aries, it's a potent combination, and we want to lean into it. We want to really utilize this energy to move our life towards more freedom. So it's kind of breaking away from the past, breaking away from the realities that seem to be sort of just stuck in the past, and into the future that we are meant to experience. And I just wanted to break down a few things from this collage. Like, it's about inventing tomorrow. That means what are we going to, what we feel we might experience a few years from now. We can actually start to tap into that now itself. It's about taking this bold action towards another perspective. So this transit will help us to tune into the perspectives that are not very obvious and that are already existing. So it's kind of like a very unique perspective on what is happening in the world right now and tuning into the higher perspective of that, like really rising above and looking at the big picture and creating that future for ourselves now. So, um, and everything in the video, in this video, is going to be kind of expanding on these concepts. So, one of the first things is really tapping into the organic realities, new Gaia now. The new Earth realms are already here, and it's not as if um, uh, we may not be able to perceive it through our eyes, but we are attuning our perception to sense it through other ways. So, for me personally, it really comes from raising my vibration, raising the quality of my thoughts, my emotions, my feelings, and actions as if I'm already living on New Earth, as if I'm already my highest self living on New Earth. And I can perceive that more and more through my heart and through my feeling state. Now, I've noticed that this feeling of New Earth, like this higher vibration Earth, is most easily perceivable when you're out in nature. So when you're deep in, in nature, in the grids and fields of Gaia, on the ground, close to the ground, and when you are allowing yourself to experience that for longer periods of time, it becomes very easy to perceive New Earth. It becomes very easy to see what this frequency of New Earth is all about because there's just so much beauty, so much stillness, so much peace. And nature is where the magic is happening. So if you want to experience 5D plus Gaia, get into nature for large periods of time. Because as Gaia has ascended, and this process of ascending and evolution is consistent. So she's constantly ascending, and so hence constantly inviting the humans and all the life on Earth on her to ascend along with her. And she's emanating codes for our evolution. So when we allow ourselves to be in nature for large periods of time, we allow our body to assimilate those codes. And that is really, I feel, the key to be able to perceive new Earth and to be able to utilize this energy to apply it to our life so that we can align with our highest path. So get out into nature, get still, really soak in this sanctuary of silence. I experienced this greatly on my travels recently, and I will share some photos from that in this video. But we might have to break our old habits and routines to sort of pull away from technology, inorganic stuff, and to get into the organic reality where this magic is happening. So prioritize your time in such a way that you can allow yourself peaceful time in nature to receive these codes. And I feel like this is one of the most important aspects of this transit, that it is breaking our patterns. Uranus breaking our routine, breaking our patterns. North Node in Taurus saying, okay, get out onto the earth. That is where our future is. That deep connection with the earth is where we are meant to be heading towards. Um, all right, so I wanted to share with you. I recently had a road trip. Well, it's actually not that recently. It was in the end of May and June. We traveled with my family on a road trip to New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, and Colorado. We saw a whole bunch of national parks, national monuments, sacred sites, and I really felt this new earth energy so acutely. There was such I was actually very consciously inviting forth that connection. I was consciously connecting to the elements, to the stones, uh, trees, flowers, and birds. And I carried my crystals with me. Now, oftentimes, I will take my crystals with me on my travels, but this time I worked with them very consciously. So you can see this picture on arches, one of the rocks and arches. I was doing some work with the crystals there, but really connecting deeply to the rocks. You know, the rocks are ancient, ancient structures, and this is. I don't feel this as a linear thing, like, if I sit next to a rock and I get some downloads, that sort of thing doesn't happen to me. But when I sit there, I just sit in the silence. And many of these places, I experienced so much stillness in that place, and so much that silence was so rejuvenating. It took me weeks to integrate this energy after I came back from my trip. But that silence was really, really refreshing. It kind of just washes away the old. It really makes space for the new. That calm centeredness that we experience in nature, particularly when we are with trees and rocks, that can attune our perceptions more quickly to a higher reality. The other thing I connected with was water, natural bodies of water. So here there are many rivers and streams that we played in. My kids love to play with mud and water. So that is something we actually make time for that on our trips, to to stop wherever there is a beautiful river flowing. We will stop there and spend hours just resting there and playing there. But water is emanating codes too, and water carries, to me, the highest essence of water represents love, this beautiful divine mother love. And it just, when I'm connecting with the body of water, natural body of water, it just resets my fields very quickly. So that's another suggestion: connecting with natural streams, ocean, rivers, lakes, so on. Connect with the sun and the trees. It was just beautiful to be outside in the sunlight. And the sunlight can reset your fields too, because the sun is carrying codes for our connection, for our evolution. Connecting with the sun on a regular basis has become a habit of mine. And even if it's very hot, like the summer has been, temperatures have been record breaking heat where I live. And I will try to make time in the morning for that, for that connection. But that's the other place where codes are emanating in a very strong way. So, of course, be safe, but you can be in the shade, with the trees. This picture here on the bottom right is a grove of trees in Bryce Canyon, where my family has been many, many times. So, this was our third trip to Bryce Canyon, and we keep coming back to this grove because it's just so beautiful. And we'll just rest there for some time while my kids play. So, connecting with trees, again, beautiful way of connecting with Gaia. And flowers, this is absolutely my favorite. Um, Flowers, there's just something, they just open up my heart, they just light up my heart. So, we want to be doing more of these things in nature that open up our hearts, minds, they light us up, because that's how we are able to really take in these codes and allow this energy to create that change within ourselves. And one of my absolute favorite birds is the raven. When I travel, I see so many ravens. They are one of my spirit animals, so it's always such a delight to connect with them in these beautiful sacred places. All right, so that's it about nature. So get out into onto the land, under the trees, into natural bodies of water, connect with the flowers and birds. Just allow the beauty of nature to transform you and to show you what is emerging with Gaia. The other aspect about this Uranus North Node Mars transit is an expansion of our awareness of our multidimensional state. So, when I say multidimensional awareness, I mean awareness of other aspects of you, not necessarily past lives, but other aspects of you that are already living in higher realms, that are already living in realms that we may not be consciously aware of it, but our higher self already exists on 5D Gaia and beyond. And other realms of Gaia have other aspects of us. So, this awareness of the fact that we are not just this one physical body, but there is other parts to us that we are wanting to tap into. And for me personally, the way my experience has worked, the experiences that I've had is tuning in through the heart allows that access more and more, and doing what gives you joy, that gives you clues to the higher versions of you and your higher level skills. So, doing more of what makes you feel alive right now, what is giving you joy right now, that is a big clue. Because what you love to do right now is a clue to what higher versions of you are doing. So, what we are in this reality, 4D, 3D, 4D reality, what we love to do is actually another version of what our higher self is up to. So, gifting yourself this opportunity to explore what makes you feel alive right now and to do more of that allows you to embody that higher self more. So, to me, this Uranus Taurus Mars transit is about embodying your higher self in this physical realm now. And how exciting is that? I mean, that to me is just what we are wanting to experience, right? Like, we are wanting to experience higher versions of ourselves now. So I had created this graphic a few months back. I was tuning into what is true for me right now, what makes me feel alive right now, and flowers and playing with color and light and paint is a big interest. It's been expanding for the last many years. Being in nature is absolutely the top priority for me. Connecting with birds and then creating beauty with my hands. So I'm staying present to what is lighting me up right now. And I'm making time in my schedule to do this more and more because I find that I just feel so much better and so much more aligned when I'm doing this. And I wanted to share with you um, this this concept of multidimensional awareness as I have experienced it. So years ago, uh, when we had moved into our first home, it didn't really have any color in the garden. And for me, color is one thing. So, I'm tuning into what lights me up. And for me, color is one thing that really lights me up. And I wanted to fill up the garden with color. So we started planting roses. And I I found out about antique roses and roses that grow in the heat in Texas. And I did a lot of research on that. And we planted more than 30 rose bushes and more than about 10 climbing roses. This is a picture of one of my favorite climbers called Buff Beauty, and there's a clematis growing there. So we planted all these roses because I was just so almost it was almost like an obsession with the roses, and I would love to cultivate them. I would love to prune them, fertilize them, work with them. I would spend hours in the garden. They really did help me during some stressful times greatly. Like working in the garden helped me at that time greatly. And I developed over the years, we did this for more than 8 years. I developed this deep connection with roses. And this was way before I got into astrology, way before I woke up and way before Pluto woke me up. So I developed this deep connection with roses, not really realizing why. And these roses, being antique roses, they're very easy to cultivate. They are kind of no fuss kind of roses. So there was this so much joy with that connection. And then comes 2015. I woke up late 2014, early 2015 with Pluto on my Mercury. And when I started to get introduced to astrology, the very first thing that it was introduced to me was the transits of Venus. So the cycle of Venus. So I've shared this with you a few times, and I started to work with the planet Venus and the energies of Venus over the next many years. I worked with every cycle, 19-month cycle, and this painting. So many of you are familiar with my connection to the planet Venus. Um, and my introduction to astrology, and how astrology, I grew to love it because of that connection. This is a painting that I made after one of the completing one of the cycles of Venus. And later on, I found out that roses actually were a gift from the planet Venus. So this is, of course, way, the galactic history of Gaia. And I've got a video at the end of this video with a link to that beautiful, beautiful talk by Sondra Walter and Kate Bednarski on the history of the plants and trees on Gaia, the galactic origin of them. When I heard this, that roses were a gift from Venus, my heart just lit up. It just felt true to me in my heart. That was my experience of hearing that. And it really made sense to me that at that time, years ago, before I even woke up, I was tapping into this energy of the roses. And that was, to me, it felt like my higher self speaking to me through what seems like a mundane thing, right? Like flowers, we take them for granted. But I developed this deep connection before even having the cognition of astrology and what astrology means and so on. And then later on, when I got introduced to astrology, I developed this deep connection with the energies of the planet Venus and so on. And that's how, I would never have thought at that time that I would become an astrologer. And now I'm a sound healing practitioner. I would never have thought at that time that astrology and sound healing were on my path. And yet, that was my higher self giving me clues, and my higher self introducing me to new things. And a lot of this, Uranus, I was going through Uranus on my Chiron during those years as well. So Uranus transits kind of just breaking open patterns, breaking open perceptions of what I thought I was, of what I thought was possible for me, and opening up these new possibilities. And all I was doing was following my curiosity, following my joy, following that up with action. Like, I was taking courses, I was learning about it, I was beginning to practice it, I was developing this deep connection to it. And every one of these things, I have started to include that more and more. And now I'm going on this path of this intuitive painting and intentional creativity. So I'm constantly following what gives me joy. And it feels like I'm embodying my higher self more and more as I do this. So I share this story with you to encourage you to really, really take action on the things that light you up in this moment. No matter how small it seems, no matter how out of character it seems, pay attention to what you are being drawn to in this now, because that is the clue to where you are meant to be heading towards. And a couple of you said earlier in the previous video that you're surfing these energies well, but you don't know what's ahead. And this is what I recommend, is that what is lighting you up right now. Let go of any judgment about the smallness or the bigness or the weirdness of that, and just follow that. That will lead you to where you're meant to be headed. Okay. All right. The next aspect about this transit, Uranus North Node, Mars, Taurus, is about time and our perception of time. So you may have already felt a big acceleration of things, of time, in the last couple of months. And that's because our perception of time is changing. And this obsession that we have with linear time, that, I must do this at this time and this at this time, that's kind of breaking apart. Again, that is part of Uranus breaking our patterns and what we think is possible. So I'm experiencing time as it's going very fast. I'm also experiencing it as it's going very slow. So these beliefs that we may have about time may be outdated. So you want to ask yourself, what do you really believe about time? Do you feel like you don't have enough time, that things are flying too fast, that time is too short, and all of that? And just let go of all of that and open to a new experience of time. I'm finding that it's actually very flexible. And one of the key things that has helped me to, I feel like what has helped me to experience this is feeling freedom in the body more and more. That means, when you do emotional clearing, it clears up those feelings of restrictions in the body and you allow yourself to feel more spaciousness. And that directly impacts your experience of time. And once you're able to do that, you can be very present with what's true for you now, and then times just seems to expand. And that has been my experience. It has been growing actually for the last many years. It started I started to feel this experience of time a couple of years into my Pluto transit. So I was about, close to 40 years old at that time. It was I started to notice that I'm doing so many things and yet I'm having time for all of it. And that's when I realized that the emotional clearing that I was doing was actually creating more freedom in my body. And that is why emotional clearing is something that I have always been recommending. Is it's a part of our journey that we cannot avoid if we want to experience higher and higher states of consciousness. So allowing yourself to be still, like doing nothing, letting yourself be in that stillness. We talked about enjoying that sanctuary of silence in nature. It doesn't have to be nature, but just allowing yourself time in your schedule to be quiet and do nothing really helps. Resist cramming every moment because that just prevents us from being present. And being present is a really important part of the Taurus energy. And realize that there really is time for everything. Everything that is meant to be aligned for you, you really have time for it. But we need to be present to what happens in this now moment and then to give it our full focus. And we may find, at least I'm experiencing it this way, is that I have to be flexible with the flow, like to be able to go with the flow, to be able to change up my routine, and be flexible with that. So that is where Uranus, breaking up our routines, breaking up our obsession with how things should be scheduled, and allowing us to have more flow can really help. So be open to playing with this concept in the coming months and see how it frees things up for you. This is another way of experiencing freedom with this transit. And I think ultimately, this transit is about embodying our highest self. So that's the ultimate goal, to embody higher and higher versions of us that are already existing in higher dimensions. We kind of just pull them into this now. We are making it physical in this now. And a couple of key points to remember as we are embodying our higher self. Of course, pursuing what gives you joy right now is really important. Allowing yourself to release an attachment to who you used to be. So this, you might have a perception of, this is what I was supposed to do, this is who I am. Just simplify all those requirements, release the attachment to who you used to be, simplify your life so that you can practice conscious creation of your new self. So realigning every moment to to that intention of, I want to embody my highest self, can help you can help us to be conscious of creation, what we are creating. So holding that intention to expand peace and the perspective of who you are. Like, we really want to expand the perspective of what is possible for us. And one of the things I have found that can get in the way is the external reality pulling our attention away from our internal state. So asking yourself, is that relevant to your journey in this now moment? So pull away from that external focus and take a look at the bigger picture. This Aquarius Uranus energy is about really looking at the bigger picture. We, of course, have compassion for whatever is going on. We don't judge what's going on. We just hold a very calm, neutral space. And we let aliveness be our guide for our own personal path. So aliveness, joy, juiciness, where is the energy wanting to flow right now? Let that be your guide. And you'll start to experience the delight of this ascension process of ascending to our highest self, to experiencing our highest self more and more. All right, so now I wanted to share with you a couple of additional resources that I feel are very relevant to what's happening right now. And check out for new earth information and related, a lot of information related to what Gaia is up to. Check out Sandra Walter's Ascension Path YouTube channel. Now, Sandra is one person who's had a tremendous impact on my own life. When I was going through those Pluto transits, I was doing the emotional clearing. I was doing a lot of stuff that was aligning me to my path. Um, Astrology, coaching, sound healing, all of that came onto my path at that time. And when Pluto crossed over my Mars for the last time, I knew it would take a few months for that transit, the effect of that transit to sort of fall away. And I kept thinking, what's next after this? Yeah, I've done the emotional clearing, but what next? And that's when I started to engage with Sandra's teachings, her articles, her courses. She's got a ton of information on her YouTube channel, which is just phenomenal. It really opened up my perspective to what Gaia really is, the bigger picture of the ascension process, all these disclosures that we keep looking for, but such high vibe stuff, and what is available to step into. That I think was the key thing for me. This concept of experiencing new earth now, that's where I really started to find tangible ways of stepping into the new. So there were a couple of videos that I feel are very relevant to what is happening now. Take a look at the galactic origins and the codex. You can just search for that on YouTube. And to connect with the new earth energy in a visceral way, there's a new earth now retreat. I've got a link there. It's a guided meditation visualization in retreat form, um, of how you can connect to your highest path on new earth, and doing that a few times really starts to attune you to this energy as well. So do check it out and let me know what you think of everything shared in this video. And then we are coming to the end of this forecast, and I just wanted to again say that my offerings are evolving. In addition to astrology and coaching, I'm also offering sound healing sessions. And these are part of Power of Balance, which is my coaching program that helps you to step into your highest self. We have really practical, grounded exercises in that, a lot of good content that is also a lot of fun to work with. And this activates your mastery levels big time, because when you are going through big transits, that's really inviting you to move away from the past quickly and to move into your highest self and your highest path quickly. And through this program, you also receive a lot of support from me during these tough transits. So if this is something that you are interested in following up on, we can have a complimentary clarity call, and that information is there on my website. And here I've got a picture of my certification of Elohim Sound Healing Practitioner by Dominique Oyston and Trina Joy Lucas. It was an absolute joy to work with them on this training. Okay, so that's it for this month. I'm wishing you a quantum leap of joy and hope that you align with your highest path in this coming month. The next video will be more towards the end of August, because I'm traveling again in August. And stay present. Stay present to what gives you joy right now and go do it. Thank you.